The city beneath me hummed with a vibrant energy, its rhythmic pulse echoing the intricate tapestry of lives intertwining in the urban sprawl. I stood on the precipice of dusk, a sentinel awaiting the emergence of night's embrace, a duty I bore not for myself, but for him. His name is Jacob, my teenage brother, and in the cacophony of our family's wreckage, I emerged as his guardian. At 28, my shoulders bore the weight of a responsibility thrust upon me by crappy circumstances. Our parents, mere specters in our lives, had left behind a void that only my unwavering commitment could fill. Each weekday, as the sun dipped below the cityscape, I embarked on a ritual born out of love and necessity. My brother toiled in the belly of a restaurant, navigating the chaos of sizzling pans and hurried orders until the clock struck 10. An unspoken agreement lingered in the air. I would be there to whisk him away from the nocturnal perils that lurked in the shadows of our urban dwelling. The routine was a dance with time, a ballet of reliability that spoke louder than any familial bond severed by neglect. In the symphony of the city, the nightly rendezvous with my brother became a steadfast melody, a testament to my commitment as both protector and confidant. As I ventured into the neon-lit arteries of the city, my senses heightened. The distant sounds of traffic, the aroma of street food wafting through the air, and the collective heartbeat of the metropolis guided my journey. It was a pilgrimage of sorts, a sacred act that tethered me to the essence of my role. My apartment, a sanctuary of order amidst the urban chaos, awaited my brief return. The fleeting moments of solitude were eclipsed by the anticipation of the task at hand. A subtle anxiety clung to my skin, born not from fear, but from the intrinsic need to shield Jacob from the unpredictability that veiled the night. As I approached the restaurant, its neon sign flickering like a beacon in the urban abyss, I felt the weight of my role intensify. The city's pulse quickened, and I navigated the sea of strangers with a purpose, a guardian navigating the labyrinth to retrieve her ward. The restaurant's hustle and bustle spilled onto the sidewalk, a frenetic energy that contrasted with my stoic determination. Jacob emerged, a weary but resilient silhouette, and our eyes met in silent acknowledgement. No words were needed. The unspoken agreement bound us together as we stepped into the night, the city enfolding us in its nocturnal embrace. This nightly pilgrimage was not merely an obligation. It was an affirmation of love and a testament to the resilience forged in the crucible of our shared history. As the city's heartbeat echoed around us, I guided Jacob through the urban maze, a guardian navigating the labyrinth, shielding him from the shadows that sought to obscure our path. And so, as the city embraced the darkness, my duty as a guardian unfolded, a nightly ballet that resonated with the unwavering commitment of a sister determined to safeguard her brother from the vagaries of the night. The city pulses with life as I pack my bags for a brief escape from the urban labyrinth that has become my daily reality. Work calls me away, and for the first time, the responsibility of ensuring my brother's safety shifts to the capable hands of my boyfriend. The promise lingers in the air, a whispered assurance that echoes through the walls of our shared space. Before departing, I steal a glance at my brother, his teenage resilience masked by the challenges he endures. His part-time job at the restaurant, a mere stepping stone in the chaotic dance of our lives, demands his presence on weekdays until the unforgiving hour of 10 p.m. The routine, one of familiarity and shared responsibility, is about to be disrupted by my absence. As I board the train that will carry me to my professional obligations, I cast a final gaze back at the cityscape, its twinkling lights a stark contrast to the shadows that encroach upon its alleys. My brother, tethered to the ebb and flow of his daily endeavors, is momentarily in the care of my boyfriend. The agreement was straightforward, a verbal pact sealed with assurances of dependability. My boyfriend, a pillar of support in our intertwined lives, willingly accepted the mantle of responsibility. "I've got it covered," he assured me with a confident smile, his words echoing through the caverns of my apprehension. Days pass in the distant land of work obligations, a whirlwind of meetings and deadlines that obscure the passage of time. My connection to the city, to my brother, relegated to sporadic phone calls and digital messages that bridge the physical distance but do little to soothe the persistent hum of concern. On the eve of my return, anticipation and relief intertwine. The promise, now a beacon guiding my journey home, flickers with the fragility of trust. My brother's safety, a talisman against the uncertainties of the night, is entrusted to the hands that once pledged fidelity. As the train carries me back, the familiar skyline materializes on the horizon, a testament to the enduring nature of the city's heartbeat. Yet, beneath the surface, a ripple of uncertainty taints the reunion awaiting me. Upon arriving, I find myself standing in the familiar embrace of our shared space. My brother, tired but resilient, recounts the week's events. His tale, however, bears a shadow of discord, a discord that emanates from the broken link in the chain of responsibility. In the muted glow of our living room, I confront my boyfriend. The agreement, a lifeline of trust, unraveling in the face of an unfulfilled promise. The echoes of his words, once confident assurances, now reverberate with an unsettling dissonance. "I forgot," he confesses, the admission hanging between us like a fragile web. The very web that was meant to cradle my brother in my absence, now shattered. As I absorb the weight of his oversight, I glimpse the first cracks in the foundation of our agreement. The promise, a delicate vessel sailing through the tumultuous waters of the city's night, lies breached, its cargo of trust spilled into the abyss. In the aftermath of his admission, the city outside appears unchanged, but within our shared space, a quiet reckoning unfolds. The agreement, so easily made, now a fragile artifact, demanding repair and reflection as I navigate the remnants of the trust that once bound us together. The door swung open, creaking on its hinges as I entered the familiar space of our shared apartment. The air, once laden with the anticipation of a homecoming, now hung heavy with the residue of disappointment. A sharp pang of concern knotted my stomach as I noticed the absence of the usual warmth that greeted me after a few days away. My brother, immersed in his own world, headphones clinging to his ears, seemed oblivious to the storm brewing within me. I took a steadying breath, masking my disquiet with a forced smile. His fleeting glance and a casual nod hinted at a routine unchanged, yet my heart carried the weight of the unspoken betrayal. The confrontation loomed, an unsettling dance of words and emotions that begged to be unleashed. I sought solace in the familiar surroundings of our shared living space, a place that had witnessed both laughter and shared secrets, but today it felt like a stage for a drama yet to unfold. The door to the bedroom, where our shared stories echoed in the silence of the night, stood ajar. My boyfriend, the custodian of promises made and broken, sat nonchalantly, engrossed in the glow of his phone screen. The room, once a sanctuary, now harbored the tension of unmet expectations. I approached, the air crackling with the unsaid words lingering between us. The artful evasion of eye contact and the studied nonchalance fueled the fire within me. The weight of disappointment hung heavy in the room, a palpable force that demanded acknowledgement. "Why didn't you pick up my brother?" The words, a fragile whisper, cut through the silence like a knife. The boyfriend, the harbinger of broken promises, shifted uncomfortably under the weight of my gaze. His response, a careless shrug and a half-hearted mumble, fueled the smoldering frustration within me. "I forgot," he offered, his words a dismissive attempt to trivialize the breach of trust. My patience waned, a tidal wave of emotion threatening to engulf me. "I reminded you twice," I retorted, my voice teetering on the edge of frustration. The room, a silent witness, seemed to hold its breath, anticipating the unraveling of a relationship. The boyfriend's gaze, averted and distant, failed to meet mine. "It doesn't matter. Nothing happened to him," he replied callously, an assertion that sliced through the vulnerability of my concern. I recoiled, the sting of his indifference piercing through me. The bedroom, once a sanctuary, now mirrored the fractured trust between us. The realization settled like a heavy fog, obscuring the clarity of our shared intentions. The conversation that followed was a tempest of conflicting emotions, my plea for understanding clashing with his dismissive stance. The room, witness to our shared dreams, now bore witness to the shattering of promises and the unveiling of unspoken doubts. As the confrontation lingered, the bedroom transformed into a battleground of emotions. The boyfriend's refusal to acknowledge the weight of his lapse, his lack of remorse, cast a shadow over the fragile foundation of our relationship. The chapter ended with a door left ajar, both metaphorically and literally. The bedroom, once a sanctuary, now held the echoes of unanswered questions and the palpable absence of trust. The journey forward lay shrouded in uncertainty, the aftermath of broken promises etched in the silent contours of our shared space. The words hung heavy in the air, a storm brewing in the midst of the living room. The lamplight cast distorted shadows on the walls, mirroring the discord unraveling between us. I stared into his eyes. Once a refuge, now a battleground where conflicting perspectives clashed. "I don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of this, Sarah," he quipped, his nonchalant tone slicing through the tension like a dagger. "Your brother is perfectly fine. Nothing happened to him." I fought to maintain composure, my patience teetering on the edge of a precipice. "It's not about whether he's fine or not. It's about trust, about promises made and broken. I depended on you to keep him safe." He waved away my concerns with a dismissive flick of his hand. "You're overreacting. Your brother can take care of himself. He's not a child." The echo of his words ricocheted within the confines of our shared space, each syllable carrying the weight of a fracture in our understanding. I took a deep breath, attempting to navigate the torrent of emotions, threatening to engulf me. "I asked you for one thing, just one thing while I was away, and you couldn't even do that. I reminded you twice and you still forgot," I retorted, my voice a measured attempt to convey the gravity of the situation. His eyes narrowed, a defiant spark igniting within them. "It's not like I did it on purpose. I just forgot. People forget things." The room became a battlefield, the clash of our perspectives reverberating like distant thunder. It wasn't merely about forgetting. It was about the breach of trust, the fragility of promises that anchored relationships. "But it wasn't just forgetting," I countered, my words resonating with the weight of unspoken expectations. "You chose to go out with your friends instead. You chose to prioritize that over a commitment you made to me." His scoff echoed through the room, an audible dismissal of my concerns. "It's not like I was out partying. I just had a couple of drinks with friends. What's the big deal?" "The big deal," I enunciated each word, a plea for understanding hanging in the air, "is that you made a promise, and you didn't keep it. You put your own plans above a responsibility you willingly accepted. It's about accountability." His gaze hardened, a wall erected against my attempts to bridge the gap. "You're being irrational, Sarah. Your brother is not a child. He can handle taking the bus." A surge of frustration bubbled within me, the realization that our perspectives were irreconcilable, settling like a bitter aftertaste. "It's not about him being a child. It's about trust, about honoring commitments. I trusted you, and you let me down." The room fell into a tense silence, the words hanging in the air like unspoken verdicts. The clash of perspectives, a tempest of conflicting priorities, left an indelible mark on the foundation of our relationship. The lamplight flickered, casting elongated shadows that danced in tandem with the discord, a silent testimony to the fractures that had surfaced. As the storm raged within the confines of our shared space, the question lingered, unspoken yet profound. Could the breach of trust be mended, or had our clash of perspectives irreversibly altered the landscape of what was once an uncharted realm of understanding? The city hummed with its nocturnal symphony as I stood alone in the dimly lit living room, the residue of our argument lingering in the air. The city lights outside cast a mosaic on the walls, reflecting the fractured state of my emotions. The incident echoed in my mind, Each word exchanged a pebble, creating ripples in the calm waters of our relationship. I sank into the plushness of the couch, its familiar contours offering a semblance of comfort amidst the chaos within. The silence enveloped me, a canvas upon which the events of the past few days painted a complex tapestry of doubt and realization. The weight of responsibility pressed upon my shoulders, not just as a sister, but as a guardian. My protective instincts, once an unwavering guide, now danced with shadows of uncertainty. I replayed the confrontation with my boyfriend, his dismissive words etching themselves into the fabric of my consciousness. A flickering cityscape outside the window mirrored the flickers of doubt that danced within me. Was I truly overprotective, as he claimed? Or was I merely fulfilling the duty bestowed upon me in this fractured family dynamic? The room held the echo of unanswered questions, demanding introspection. I traced the contours of the day in my mind, each decision, each word dissected under the scrutiny of retrospection. The broken promise hung in the air like a suspended note in a melody, its discordant resonance refusing to be ignored. The rhythm of the city below seeped into my thoughts, a metronome for contemplation. In the solitude of that moment, I questioned the foundations of trust that had seemingly crumbled. Was my expectation too high, or had his commitment been too fragile? As the minutes stretched into an hour, the realization settled like fine dust. Trust, once shattered, was not easily reconstructed. The incident wasn't merely about a missed pickup. It was about the breach of a promise that extended beyond the surface of our relationship. It was about the fragility of words when they failed to transform into actions. I reached for my phone, the glow casting shadows on my face as I composed a message. The words, carefully chosen, carried the weight of my realization. "We need to talk," I typed, my fingers dancing over the screen with the gravity of a decision made. The city's pulse outside continued, oblivious to the internal seismic shifts. The confrontation loomed, an uncharted territory of emotional revelation. The city lights flickered, mirroring the flickers of hope that dared to surface amidst the shards of trust scattered on the floor. The metropolis below, with its sprawling complexities, seemed to hold the answers to questions that echoed in the chambers of my thoughts. As I pressed send, the message flew into the digital abyss, carrying with it the weight of a decision made in the crucible of reflection. The chapter of broken promises and dismissive words closed, leaving room for a new narrative, one defined by resilience, growth, and an unwavering commitment to the duty I bore as a guardian. The air hung heavy with the remnants of unresolved tension as I stood before him, my gaze locked with his. The room, once a sanctuary of shared laughter and whispered promises, now crackled with the unspoken words that reverberated between us. The weight of broken promises, like an invisible shroud, draped over the fragments of trust that lay scattered on the floor. "I trusted you," I began, my voice steady but laced with the quiet tremors of betrayal. "I asked you for one thing, one simple thing, and you couldn't even do that." His eyes, a fleeting kaleidoscope of emotions, darted across the room, avoiding the accusation that hung in the air. The silence, pregnant with the echoes of our fractured trust, stretched between us like an insurmountable chasm. "You said you forgot," I continued, my words slicing through the stillness. "But I texted you. I reminded you twice that day. You knew how important it was." His response, a feeble defense that crumbled under the weight of his own admission, echoed in the room. "I had a few drinks with my friends. I forgot. Nothing happened to him anyway." The dismissive words hit me like a cold gust of wind, a stark reminder that my concerns were inconsequential in the narrative he wove. The room, once our shared haven, became a battleground of conflicting truths. I squared my shoulders, determination flickering in the depths of my eyes. It's not about what happened or didn't happen. It's about trust. It's about promises made and promises broken. You said you'd do one thing, just one thing, and you couldn't keep your word. His gaze, now meeting mine, bore into the raw vulnerability I dared to expose. The room, a silent witness to our unraveling, became the arena where the dance of confrontation unfolded. "You're being irrational," he retorted, the words a dismissive wave attempting to sweep my concerns under the rug. "He's old enough to take care of himself. You're overprotective." My jaw tightened, the sting of his words a bitter reminder of the divide that had grown between us. This isn't about overprotectiveness. It's about accountability. About knowing that when you make a promise, you keep it. It's about trust, and you've shattered that. The room pulsated with the unspoken ultimatum that lingered in the charged atmosphere. The choice, stark and unforgiving, hung in the air like a heavy fog. He had broken my trust, and the onus was now on me to decide the fate of a relationship tainted by the echoes of unreliability. "I can't do this," I whispered, the admission a reluctant exhale. "I can't be with someone I can't trust, especially with something as important as my brother's safety." His eyes widened, a flicker of realization dancing across his face. The room, a silent witness to the unraveling of our connection, bore witness to the unspoken understanding that trust, once shattered, left scars that could not be easily erased. As I turned away, the weight of the decision settling on my shoulders, I vowed to prioritize the resilience of my brother over the fragility of a relationship built on broken promises. The door closed, sealing the chapter of confrontation and resolution, leaving behind the echoes of a choice that reverberated through the corridors of trust, resilience, and the enduring pursuit of the duty I had chosen to embrace. The echoes of our heated exchange lingered in the air, a storm that had swept through the foundations of trust. As the argument subsided, a heavy silence enveloped the room, and I found myself standing at the crossroads of a fractured relationship. My gaze lingered on him, the man who had vowed to share in the responsibility of safeguarding my brother. The fallout from our clash left emotions raw, the wounds of broken promises and dismissed concerns laid bare. In the dim glow of the room, I saw the contours of disappointment etched on his face, a mirror reflecting. The shattered expectations we once held, my decision hung in the air like an unspoken verdict. I could feel the weight of it, the gravity of choosing between the comfort of familiarity and the harsh truth that trust had been irrevocably breached. The city beyond the window seemed to pulse with the rhythm of my heartbeat, a metronome counting the seconds until I would declare the path forward. In the aftermath of our clash, I retreated into the sanctuary of introspection. I questioned the essence of our connection, unraveling the threads of shared moments and promises made. The specter of doubt cast its shadow over what was once a harmonious union, revealing the fault lines we had ignored for too long. With measured steps, I approached him, the space between us fraught with unspoken words. The silence hung heavy, a canvas waiting to be painted with the resilience required to rebuild, or the strength to let go. As I spoke, my voice carried the weight of lessons learned, the echoes of the clash transforming into a melody of self-discovery. I can't overlook the importance of trust, especially when it involves the safety of my brother, I began, each word a deliberate step toward closure. Our relationship, once built on the foundation of shared responsibility, now stands at a crossroads. The resilience required to rebuild might be beyond us, and that's a reality we must confront. His gaze met mine, a mixture of regret and realization. The room felt smaller, the boundaries of our connection shrinking in the face of irreversible decisions. As I continued, I acknowledged the pain of severing ties but emphasized the unwavering commitment to my brother's well-being. In the wake of broken promises, we find the strength to redefine our priorities. My duty as a guardian extends beyond familial ties. It encompasses a commitment to unwavering trust and shared responsibility. I choose to stand resilient in the face of fractured trust, prioritizing the safety of my brother above all else. The chapter concluded with a silent acknowledgement that resonated in the room, a tacit understanding that our paths diverged. As the door closed behind me, I stepped into the uncertain expanse of the future, guided by the resilience born from the crucible of broken trust. The city outside, oblivious to the intricacies of our personal saga, continued its rhythmic pulse, a reminder that life, like the metropolis beyond my window, pressed on,